Hello, and welcome to the Media Center's 9th Local Hero Awards series, in which we showcase 5 people from the Mid-Peninsula for outstanding achievement or contribution to the community. We solicited nominations and were especially looking for the unsung heroes. Each winner is an inspiration, and each has a great story to tell. How many people do you know who are asking themselves, what's my next career going to be when they're turning 90? Well, that's exactly what's on the mind of MARIBEE Smith right now. In the past, she was a dietitian in Canada and an ESL teacher in San Mateo, Korea, and Abu Dhabi. More recently, she has volunteered in the schools in East Palo Alto. She has devoted more hours of time to the Ravenswood Science Initiative than anyone except the program's director. For some students, she started out as a tutor and became a life coach, introducing them to a new world of possibilities, helping them with everything from diabetes to college homework. MARIBEE, you're retired, you have plenty of time, plenty of energy, you could be doing lots of things. Why do you do what you're doing now?
There are a lot of reasons, and it grew over time. It started out really gradually, and I didn't even know I would care that much about it. But I worked with adults as well as with kids, and it just grows. I just want to, that's all.
Why this community in particular?
Oh, that's easy. To me, it's really unfair. I hate unfairness to kids, and when you've got a struggling school district, as it was 20 years ago, in the middle of Silicon Valley, it doesn't seem right. The kids deserve more, and there are a lot of changes happening now, which is good.
Tell me, I'd like to talk about 2 kind of cases in particular, 2 students that you really almost adopted.
Yeah, you could say that.
Tell me what happened with Jose. What did he need when you met him?
Oh, Jose. He was a sad little fellow when I met him. The teacher, 3rd grade teacher, brought me 2 boys, and they were 2 different apart in their skills for reading. So I chose Jose because he had diabetes. And he was also special ed. And I want to make clear that that is not caused by diabetes type 1. And we've gone through quite a few things together. I got connected with the juvenile, I guess is the word, juvenile diabetes people around here, and they're fabulous. That's a whole other story, what they are doing. And so Jose and I started out reading labels on cereal packets, because that was what he was getting every day, morning. And it went from there, and he goes to camp, and he's a 15-year-old now.
So he went to a special camp for diabetics,
yes,
right? And
yes.
That was your idea, presumably, or you certainly helped him?
It was. I went to search for what was available, what could be done, and the first people I talked to, everybody said camp. That's what matters. And I took him to a day camp at first, because he's only 9 and very quiet. And I thought, how will this work? And he stood really close to his mom for about 30 seconds until he saw the art materials over at the table. And then that worked out well. So I signed him up for the week-long camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains with the diabetic. It's called Diabetes Youth Foundation. And he's going there this summer.
What is hard for these kids and for diabetics in general that non-diabetics maybe don't understand?
Well, it's the amount of total awareness you have to have. It's hard on parents when kids get diagnosed really early. I've gone to some of the training things, and you'd be astonished at how much type 1, and it has nothing to do with overeating or anything like that. It's a heredity thing. So I'm very impressed with what they're doing. He plays chess, he does all kinds of things from camp. And they give me good reports that he's having a great time, almost a leader now when he goes to camp.
So it sounds like a lot of changes came from the camp, from dealing with diabetes, from you. Tell me when those magical moments of change happened that you observed.
Well, I think there have been lots of them, because sometimes he has some tough times too, but when he came back the very first time from the camp, I think I picked him up at the bus stop, and he got in the car and he said, I didn't know anybody else in the world had diabetes. I thought I was the only person. I still remember the words. I can even get emotional thinking about this. I thought I was the only person in the world that had diabetes, and everybody would laugh at me.
Wow.
And that's what the camp and the kind of counselors, and a lot of those counselors are young people that have diabetes themselves. Some of the sports camp people, you'll find that they have diabetes and they've dealt with it. So this is the whole idea, for the kid to learn to manage their own. So it's gone like that.
So now he is where, and by that I mean kind of in terms of confidence.
Where he is? Oh, fabulous. It was a little difficult when he changed schools, but no, I see him every 3 or 4 months. He's just making a progression out of it. And he loves school. Another time I remember when he got sent home from school because his blood sugar was so high, and I happened to get the information because I was there for another reason. And so I dropped by the house later, and he was so upset, not about his condition, but because he'd been sent from school. He said, I like school. I want to learn. And why ever they send him home, I don't know. But that's how he is. He's a great kid.
And he was not that way when you first met him.
He was not that way at all. Not that way at all. No, no. And he likes to learn, and he's not a very fast learner, but he's a steady learner.
A very different student that you started out tutoring and took under your wing. Tell me about Anna. What were her challenges?
Again, I didn't really know. You don't go into the background. I didn't know that she had just more or less arrived in the country. But she was shy, and we were starting out reading. It was also, I think, my first tutoring experience. So I was learning how to do this too, learning the material they were using, stuff like that. Her dad came to pick her up the first afternoon. He said, what does she need? I'll get it for her. And I thought, that's great. But Anna we worked together all year. And then in June, I didn't think she was ready for me to drop her. So I had time. I went to the house a couple of times a week, but it got to be late August. I got worried because I didn't think she felt confident. And I didn't want to drop her. I mean, that's terrible if a kid's counting on you to drop them. So I asked her if she could, if she felt okay about 4th grade. And she said, no. And I said, oh, okay. Do you trust me? Yes. I said, well, you've got to believe that I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Because I got to go help. I mean, I lied, is the truth. I said, I got to go help another little girl in 3rd grade. And I know you can do this. So that was kind of the end of the story for another 4 or 5 years.
So that was enough. Your belief, your confidence in her was enough for her to feel confidence in herself.
Yeah, and when I heard the story later, and I saw her even last summer, I've seen her twice since, and she's now in her 20s, which tells you something about the importance of doing things at the right time with these kids. Whether it's the new stuff with ages 3 to 5, preschool, and the brain development and everything like that, or reading in 2nd and 3rd grade, they got to be reading. So, yeah, I get energized about that.
So those are 2 huge success stories,
Yeah.
I gather, probably of several. What, over the course of working with these people, have you discovered about this population that maybe you would never have guessed?
Well, probably a number of things, but let me see that the right help at the right time. Timing is critical, and we've heard that about a lot of other stuff. Whether it's the preschool, which is what's getting so much emphasis now. Anna gives me a lot of credit when we're talking, but really, she picked up the ball. It isn't just that I did that much. If she hadn't had a supportive family that made sure she did the homework, I'm sure there were times that I never saw when they said, you know, homework must be done before anything else. And it goes from there.
What have you gotten from them? What have you learned from them?
Oh, that's a lot. I got motivation from them, because when I started out doing it, it was just because I had seen a notice in the church bulletin, and I had just retired, and I thought, I can do that. It was about that level, you know. So I've gotten motivation from seeing the success stories, from seeing what the kids are doing in science now, and the confidence they're getting. It's a whole different thing. And then one experience I had, which was not on the positive side at all, you may remember the young man that shot the police officer years ago. He was in my GED class. And it was, you know, if not getting educated at the right time and getting involved in other things in the community can have really tragic effects for other people as well as for the person themselves.
So you've seen both sides of it.
I've seen both sides, yeah.
I'd like to switch gears and talk about your upcoming birthday. And I know you didn't receive this award because you've managed to stay alive on this planet for so long, but I think there are a lot of really important lessons that to be gleaned from looking at you and how you've led your life. Tell me about the process of loss as you get older and letting go. What do you miss and how do you handle it?
Well, for a long time, I don't think I didn't notice it. I was getting older because I have friends that are 15 to 20 years younger. And I was always able to replace something as I lost it with something else. I gave up scuba diving because I could do some hiking or something like that. But more recently, like 2 years ago, I gave up my bike, and I really don't like that. I think it's probably in the fantasy department that I go looking at any new form of a bicycle, like a recumbent or whatever. I could ride it, but you know, you get off a bike in traffic, you have to be perfect balance. But in terms of other things that I miss, I gave up helping in the science lab a year ago. And that's because I didn't have the stamina. I can do it for a short time, but it's not like it used to be. And I miss that. So I miss the wind in my face out biking, and I miss the stimulation of and seeing the kids. I mean, that's the big thing. These science kids, that science program has done so much for them. They now have confidence that they didn't have before. That's the fun part. That's the fun part for me.
But you do seem to be able to move on in a way that everybody, I think, aspires to. When people ask you what's the secret, especially in our culture,
Yes.
how do you respond?
I don't know how many people have asked me that, and I'm glad they haven't, because I don't think I have any secret. I don't think so. I've been lucky with genes, obviously. And I think it's a California effect, because I didn't come from here. The California effect, outdoors and having friends that did a lot of things. It was tennis, it was skiing to tennis to scuba diving to this and that. Mostly because of friends and discovering what fun this is. So I've got no secrets. Everybody has to find their own path. But I think most of the people I know, even the ones in my age group, maybe they move to a senior residence or downsize or whatever. But everybody that I'm close to, they do everything they can do. And that's kind of where I am. I want to do everything I can do.
How do you see the world differently now from the way you did 50 years ago, 20 years ago?
That's easy. It's so much bigger. I don't know if it's complicated in the details, but it's so much more complicated and complex, and the interrelationships.
But what in you has changed?
Say that again?
What inside you has changed that views the world differently?
Oh. Well, I remember one time you asked me what advice I would have given a young Maribee, and that's easy. That's easy. It would have been to think bigger sooner. That's like 3 words for think bigger sooner.
Well, that sounds like Silicon Valley tech advice, too.
Exactly. Well, hey, that is it. Because I'm lucky enough to live in Palo Alto, and there's something about this community, even when I came here in the 60s, 70s.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. It was a very expansive feeling. And I like that. I mean, there's the feeling of there's growth and new opportunity. It's possible. Yeah.
I do want to ask you about a very personal experience you had with your mother, because I think it ties into all of this, and I think it's important to talk about. Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, she had been 42 when I was born, so she was a strong lady, but had a lot of heart problems. And I was down here, but a serious situation came up. My sister-in-law called, said a big heart attack, and I should get there as soon as I could. So I did. And I found everybody really upset, especially my father. He said, she's crazy. She's gone crazy, and she wants to die. I thought, well, first thing I would do is listen to her and find out, for myself. I had no experience of this, but I thought I could find out. Common sense told me to listen to her, and it turned out that she was thinking they were keeping her alive artificially. That was the problem. She didn't want it, and nobody would listen to her, and that's why she was almost screaming at people. But she calmed down when I listened to her. So, this is quite a while ago. They didn't have paperwork like we do. So I said, well, I'll tell the doctor what you want, and that you don't want to be kept alive artificially. She used the expression, they're keeping me alive on tubes. That's how she expressed it. I said, I'll tell the doctor, and I'm sure he will. So I did. And he chose his words very carefully. He said, if I have any decisions to make, any choices to make, one or the other word, decisions, choices to make, I will remember what you told me. So that was it.
And that's how her life ended?
No, it didn't end then, maybe
she,
6 months later.
But she ended it the way that she wanted to.
The way she wanted it. Yeah,
largely because somebody listened to her.
Exactly, exactly. And fortunately now, and of course that's informed how I'm dealing with it, end-of-life decisions. We're lucky now that my friends my age, we talk about things like this. I mean, we all know what the other, more or less, and that's it, it's done. And there are procedures here,
right,
which makes it just the natural, almost natural thing to do. But yeah, it was a different thing, and that would be the late 60s.
Well, and that listening skill, it sounds to me, to go full circle here, is what you bring both to the kids and to your mother.
I hope so. I hope so.
What's next? You've got a couple things on the horizon.
What's next?
Let's start out with your dads, because I want to hear more about dads.
Oh yeah, for the last several years actually, I've even got some T-shirts with put on there with soccer. I've been trying to get soccer games going with dads and kids to involve more fathers in the. Traditionally, fathers haven't been as involved as moms, and if we could get them playing soccer together and then bring in more information and all of this, and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping it will.
You mean getting dads involved in the kids' education, right?
Yeah.
More than just soccer.
Oh yeah. The T-shirt says, I think it says, get in the game, get in the education game. So I'm hoping, but it hasn't happened yet. That may be for someone else to do. And there are bigger organizations. I'm just one person.
And just very briefly, because we're almost out of time, there's another program that you've just discovered. Just tell me really briefly about that.
Yes. there's something out there that's very promising. The business community in California, and I have no direct connection with this, but I did happen to be invited to the kickoff program. The business community is concerned about having well-educated employees. And this is the first time I've heard. And they're doing something called the Big Lift for four actually, school districts in Northern California. And they're focusing on early education. You know, I think we all know now that the brain development is almost complete by age 5. And so high quality not child care, but learning activities between 3 and 5 is crucial to end up, otherwise kids can end up in first grade not ready and too far behind. So that's very, very exciting. And they happen to have on their framework parent participation. So I'm thinking other people are thinking about the things I care about. I like it.
Well, it sounds to me like you've got a lot on your plate, 2 projects and a birthday. Best of luck to you with all of the above. Thank you for coming, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Award. Do you know someone who has overcome significant hardship and has an inspiring story to tell? Someone who has sacrificed or given over and above to the community and deserves some recognition? If so, please contact us with your nomination for next year's Local Hero Awards. To find out more about our local heroes and to watch interviews with all the winners, visit our website, midpennmedia.org. At the Mid-Penn Media Center, you can make your own videos and television programs and take classes in all aspects of media production. You can also hire our professional services team. To find out more about that, go to mcproservices.com. Congratulations to all our winners, and thank you for watching.